Now, this panic buying in Australia is like nothing we've seen before. And those wheeling out of supermarkets with a trolley full of toilet paper has only made others anxious, and we seem to be following like sheep. It is quite bizarre and also damaging to the grocery and manufacturing industries. Joining me in the studio here is Rob O'Byrne, CEO of the Logistics Bureau. Thank you very much for coming in, Rob.
Hi, Chris. Pleasure.
Have you seen anything like this before?
Never. I just can't work it out. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Why toilet paper?
I think it went round on social media that 40% of our toilet paper was made in China, and suddenly people panicked. And you know, people are in the grocery store and they see someone pulling 10 packs off the shelf, and suddenly the thing just snowballs. And I think this is one of the downsides, to be honest, of so much on social media. We don't get reliable news. We get, you know, personal opinions of people and guessing, and that's caused, you know, toilet paper to fly off the shelves and pasta and rice. You know,
so rice is the latest, apparently.
It is.
Okay,
yes.
Rice.
Yes. And in fact, I was...
Well, hang on. Don't we make rice here?
We do.
We make pasta as well.
We do.
We make toilet paper as well.
We do, lots of it, apparently.
You would have thought the first inkling or the first move to take things off the shelves would have been things that were made in China that we may have to wait a considerable time for.
Well, I don't think the general public thinks like that. So we're thinking of, you know, what are the staples that we might run out of? And so it's I mean, I don't know why toilet paper. I think there's a lot more things I'd grab before that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the staples like the rice and the pasta, you can kind of understand that. But I think what people don't realise is that about 90% of the stuff in our grocery stores is locally made anyway. I mean, we are not about to run out of food. We might run out of electronic goods, maybe some clothing. I mean, if you look at the reports, you know, coming out of the US and Europe, for example, the automotive industry is suffering because they're not getting their spare parts out of China. The electronics industry, mobile phone manufacturers, they're flying parts out of China into Vietnam to keep their production going there.
So what are the medium and long-term impacts of this? So medium term, we will have access to these groceries, but when this is all over, there'll be so many shoppers that won't have to go to the shopping centre to pick anything up.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for the toilet paper manufacturers because we won't need that for a while. Look, I think the effects are very hard to predict at the moment.
But the supply chain has been turned upside down.
It has. And look, the supply chain has extended so much in recent decades. We're now reaching into China and other overseas countries, all driven, of course, by the consumer wanting cheaper prices. And so not so much is being produced here in Australia. These extended supply chains, you know, mean that we're trying to reduce stocking levels here in Australia. So, you know, most retailers are trying to work on 6 to 8 weeks stock. They're going to start running out in March, you know, mid-March, end of March. That's what a lot of our clients are telling us now.
So we've got to cut it out, don't we? We've got to cut it out.
Absolutely have to cut it out. I mean, we're not going to run out of food. I think that's the key message. I suppose in the longer term, the risk is if we see isolation happening like we're seeing in northern Italy. I mean, I see the news coming out of UK today that the UK are predicting an increase in the virus over about 3 months, a sort of peak period of 1 or 2 months, and then a decline over 2 or 3 months. We could be looking at a 6-month period where we've got declining supply, certainly from overseas, but we're not going to get suddenly that whiplash effect where the demand's suddenly going to jump up again.
Not to mention the fact that nowadays you can order online virtually anything you need with Woolies, with Coles, with others, and it is delivered within 24 hours.
Absolutely, absolutely. So online deliveries won't be affected locally, but of course a lot of online deliveries come from overseas, and those are going to be heavily impacted.